I wanted to compare three quarterbacks in Nico Iamaleava, Hendon Hooker, and Joe Milton. And this comes after that I took the position of I don't believe that Nico can be elite. I still believe he can be very good. Could also change my mind. But I used these numbers because we're 6 games in. So I wanted to be fair to all parties involved. So I used 6 games from Joe Milton last year, and I used 6 games from Henden Hooker in 2022. Now, if you wanted to, you could go back to 2021 and you could say, well, Joe Milton was getting prepared for that, but that kind of went off the rails and Tennessee didn't have as good of a team around him. So I thought that was a fair way of looking at it. Jimmy, would you approve of that?
I would have looked at Hooker 2021 and Milton last year.
Okay.
That would have been my comparison.
Okay. Well, here's what I did. And I'm sure Nico's not going to like this, but he's got me blocked on Twitter, so it's not a big deal. Let's start with Milton. He was injured in the second game of that 2021 season. So I took a look at his first 6 games in 2023. Mm-hmm. He completed 122 of 182 passes for 67%. In his first 6 games, threw for 1,264 yards, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, ran the ball 32 times for 173 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, the Vols were 5-1 in that time, but I gave him some credit because Cooper Mays was out. Now, Hooker, in his first 6 games of 2022, completed 119 of 170 passes for a 70% completion rate. Of course, we know that Tennessee was undefeated in those 6 games. The senior threw for 1,817 yards, 15 touchdowns, just 1 interception. Ran the ball 59 times for 287 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now we get to Nico, 94 of 143 for 1,219, 7 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, ran the ball 44 times for 196 yards. So we get to the quarterback rating, not for the entire season for Henden Hooker or Joe Milton, but Milton's quarterback rating through 6 games last year was 137.3. Nico's quarterback rating through 6 games this season is 149.3. Hooker in another stratosphere, 187.7. Jimmy, that tells me by roughly 20 points that Nico's performance this year is much more like Joe Milton than it was Henden Hooker in 2022. What do you make of those numbers?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Nico has performed more like Joe Milton as opposed to Henden Hooker. I thought Henden Hooker's 2022 season was among the greatest of a Tennessee quarterback in history. And you look at his quarterback rating at the end of the year, and I think he had 27 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He ran for yardage. He scored a lot of points against some good defenses, like Alabama. He got 52. So yeah, I think Hooker's in a different stratosphere. Now, I want to address your feeling that Nico will never be elite. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely, okay. Absolutely.
I think it's too early to judge, and I would give you these examples. When Joe Burrow could not get on the field at Ohio State, he transfers to LSU. His first year at LSU, he's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Last year's Heisman Trophy winner. He wasn't a finished product. His senior year, he was brilliant. Jaden Daniels was not a great quarterback at Arizona State. And he was a really good quarterback at LSU his first year. He was phenomenal and wins the Heisman Trophy. I don't think Nico's a finished product. I think he has a chance to be an elite quarterback still. Now, he's got to have the right accompaniment. He's got to have the supporting cast. He's got to have really good receivers, which obviously Jaden Daniels had last year and Joe Burrow had when he played at LSU. So he's got to have some help there. He needs a better offensive line, but I'm not going to rule him out as being elite. I know that when there was Heisman Trophy talk at the beginning of this season, I panned it because I didn't think he was ready to take that step. But I also said that I thought next year he could be more like a Henden Hooker from 2022. I think he's still got some growing to do, and there's some growing pains right now. So I can't rule him out as far as being elite. I still think he's got a chance to do that based on the examples that I gave him.
Caleb?
Yeah, Jimmy, the pattern you're giving me just sounds like quarterbacks that transfer to LSU work out now. Because
look out if he transfers to LSU.
Yeah, if Nico transfers to LSU, he's winning a Heisman. That's what we're gathering here. But I hate to admit this, but Jimmy's measured approach was the right one, because we were the ones saying Nico would win the Heisman at the beginning of the year, and Jimmy's like, pump the brakes. And now we're the ones saying it's time to just throw the towel in on Nico. He can't do anything. And Jimmy's like, pump the brakes, he'll be fine. Jimmy, I got to ask you this, and I'm giving you credit here. I think you were right. I thought Henden Hooker was good, but more of a product of Josh Heupel's system. Have we not given Henden Hooker the credit that he deserves for actually being that uniquely talented?
Yes.
Relative to the quarterbacks?
Yes. And by the way, he wasn't great at Virginia Tech before he came to Tennessee. But yes, I do think that we've not given him the credit. I had a guy before the year that told me that Henden Hooker's 2022 season was better than any year Peyton Manning had. And I'm like, wait a minute. And when I went back and looked at the numbers, he made a pretty good case. The touchdown to interception ratio, the efficiency, the running ability. He had a phenomenal year. And I think this system puts a quarterback in position to put up great numbers and have a phenomenal year. I always contended Joe Milton did not fit this system. I think Nico fits this system better, but I don't know that he's ever going to be as good as Henden Hooker. He might be. I don't know. But I'm gonna divert a little bit from my LSU comparisons. Jalen Milroe wasn't all that great when he began his career at Alabama, right? And he even got benched for the South Florida game. And, boy, he's come on like gangbusters, and now he's a Heisman Trophy candidate. Cam Ward at Miami started his career, was it Eastern Washington? And then he goes to Washington State. And now at Miami, he's a Heisman Trophy candidate. So my point is I think there's a lot of room for growth for a quarterback. And we'll see if Nico can grow to that level.
Jimmy, I would offer this too, in that we may have been talking about something special in Henden Hooker and didn't realize it. I had an NFL scout tell me at the time that he had as good a touch on a deep ball as anybody he had covered in years.
Yeah.
Which is really what this offense not is all about, but what this offense has to do to be elite.
I think so, but I also thought that Hooker was accurate on all throws, whether it was that quick flanker screen, whether it was a slant over the middle or intermediate pass or the deep ball. I thought he was extraordinarily good at that. I thought he showed a great touch with those throws. I thought he also typically found the right receiver. There weren't many times that I looked and said, why did he throw to the tight end when Jalen Hyatt was wide open over here? I didn't see much of that. I saw Hooker making the right decisions. I didn't see Milton making them, and so far I haven't seen Nico making them. But I thought Hooker was just extraordinary in this offense, and that's why he put up such great numbers 2 years ago.
Jimmy, how close do you think Nico is to finally getting above that level? I mean, I went back and watched that Florida game, and I will say that, I mean, there were about 3 shots that he just missed. And I mean, if he hits those shots, we're talking about a totally different Nico Iamaleava today. Yeah. We're saying he turned a corner and he's a superstar. So how close is he do you think to turning that corner?
To be honest with you, I don't think he's very close right now. He did throw I thought a pretty close deep ball to Squirrel White that was very close to being caught. He missed Nimrod by a lot. Remember that deep ball to Nimrod? My goodness.
Yeah, I thought he thought Nimrod was going to break back on like a kind of a post corner towards the sideline.
Okay, and maybe he did.
It went way out of bounds. We talked about this. I thought he was throwing it to the Gatorade.
Yeah, that was. But my concern right now is to that point. One, the offensive tackles right now at Tennessee are not very good. Gosh, I hope they don't block me on Twitter. The other thing is the wide receivers. I think they're okay. I don't think they're elite. They don't have a Jalen Hyatt. They don't have a Blitnikoff candidate among the receivers. Here's the other part of this too. For all of what he might say publicly, I think he's lost some confidence. I don't think he's playing with confidence. I don't think he's running the ball like I thought he would. I thought he ran the ball better against Iowa than he's run against any of the last few opponents Tennessee's had. So I think confidence right now is a little bit of an issue. So I think it's going to take him a while to get back in stride. I don't necessarily see it against Alabama. Maybe so. I mean, if you look at Alabama's defense the last 3 games, they haven't been very good at all. So maybe this is a game where Tennessee finds its stride offensively. I don't know. But I think he's a ways away for being a really good quarterback. And part of that supporting cast, part of that's his own confidence.
Jimmy, I don't mean to keep you too long here, but I do have one other question. With that confidence, is it been dinged more because of being a superstar before he took a snap because of all the NIL deal? Or do you think Josh Heupel perhaps put too much on him? Maybe 15 seconds to tell you about Varner Ford.
XLT all-wheel drive, $31,990. 23 Ford Expedition 4x4 Limited, $66,590. 2023 Ford F-150 XLT Super Crew 4x4, $47,995. Varner Ford, built for the game.
All right, Jimmy, there's pressure there. You said he lacks a little bit of confidence. I agree by his body language. Was it more the pressure that's been put on him by NIL, or do you think Josh Heupel asked too much of him?
Well, I don't think it's the pressure of the NIL. It certainly didn't show against Iowa in the Citrus Bowl, right, when he got a start in what was considered a pretty decent bowl game. I think they put a lot on him, and I actually think that Heupel expected him to perform better than he has. And I think he's gotten a little gun shy because he hadn't had very good protection. A lot of times, I mean, you get hit enough times, I don't care who you are, you get hit enough times, and sometimes when you scramble, instead of looking down the field, you're looking at that next guy that's about to lay into you. So I think that's a big part of it, is not having the protection and really not being as efficient as Tennessee thought he would be. I don't think they're asking too much of him. Maybe they're asking too much of their offensive tackles to pass protect. Maybe they need to help with tight ends or running backs.
I agree with that. My base would be 12 personnel. I also think it'd benefit from being able to roll out, but I think that puts slow-footed offensive tackles in a bind. I don't think they're good at that. I think they're likely to hold. So we'll see what they do. But anything else, Caleb?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, Jimmy. I want to know just real quick your thoughts. I brought that up yesterday because we talk about how much Peyton Manning, how well he developed and was brought along as a freshman at Tennessee and how much they were able to do with him. But did it help that Peyton Manning had one of the most massive offensive lines as a unit that Tennessee ever had as a freshman? And so they were able to do more with him?
Well, if you remember his first start, he threw for 76 yards maybe against Washington State, something like that. It was less than 100. They won 10-9. They relied on their defense and their offensive line and running game to win that. So, and then as the season progressed, he did have an excellent offensive line, and then he got better and better. And by the time they played Virginia Tech in the Gator Bowl, he was a really good quarterback. So, yes, he did have a great offensive line. Tennessee does not have that right now. And I do think that's impacted Nico's performance.